Okay, for the cake, I'm using burnt umber, yellow ochre, ultramarine violet to tone down the yellow ochre, and titanium buff. So I'm going to start with burnt umber, yellow ochre, mix them, take ultramarine violet, put it in there, and titanium buff. So I'm going to try to do a mid-tone, start with the mid-tone. And then I go darker this way and lighter that way. Titanium buff. The corner of my brush, I'm dabbing to get some texture. It's going to take a bit of, quite a bit of dabbing in here. But that will look beautiful once we start adding highlights and layers, layering. I'll wait for it to dry, see how dark it's going to turn on this side and how light. The more I come to this side, the more highlights I'm going to put, which you know, titanium buff, a bit of yellow in here. It shouldn't be, the color shouldn't be too, or the paint, I should say, it shouldn't be too glazy or thin. So you get texture. If it's too thin with acrylics, if you have too much water in there, it will be flat. It becomes flat when it's dry. But if it's thick, then you'll get texture. I'm not worried now about the value or my brush stroke right now, because what I'm trying to do right now is actually cover the black. But instead of doing this, I'm trying to get texture over the black. I don't want to do it in a brush stroke that makes it look flat. It takes time, it's longer, it takes longer, but the end result is really nice. Especially when you have a darker first layer and then you put lighter second layer, then you'll get really nice textures. It's starting to look yummy. Okay. So I'm adding a little bit more of the titanium buff. Now, let's go back to burnt umber, a bit of the burnt umber, yellow ochre, and ultramarine violet. So really dark. I'm gonna go into the dark one. It looks like chocolate. I'm picking up burnt umber and ultramarine violet. That's it. That's really chocolate. I'm not worried about this because I'm going to put the green over that. Okay. Let's bring in, soften and whatever is left over on my brush, softly blend it in here. Okay, let's go back to light, which is titanium buff. Add titanium buff, yellow ochre. Wipe my brush a bit. Okay. For the pistachio color, for the dark part, I'm using sap green, ultramarine violet, and a touch of titanium buff. So I'm going to start dabbing this green around here kind of randomly. Not really dabbing, more like moving my brush softly around. It's a round brush. I'm using a round brush right now. And kind of softly. So this is going to be a couple of layers. And I'm going to go back to, when I put the green, I'm going to go back to the color of the, first layer of the cake and add more dabs of that. So it's going to be back and forth of adding colors in here. Layering. I'm layering, I'm putting a layer of soft green, more like a glaze. So I can put the green over it when I start highlighting, putting the light green. I don't want to put the light green over an off-white background. It's going to look too kind of spotty.
So the color you used again, Emmanuel?
Pardon?
The color you used again, sap green and ultramarine violet?
Sap green, ultramarine violet, and a touch of the titanium buff. And I'm making my color kind of more like a glaze.
Okay.
And I'm just kind of softly putting this on top. Now I can go back. And maybe I'm not sure if I should be using a small brush or not. I have to try it. And now I'm going to pick up more sap green, titanium buff. And maybe at one point I need to pick up white as well and put it in. But for now, I'm taking some of the sap green and ultramarine violet that I have here, and I'm adding it to this really light green that I have here. So it's sap green, titanium buff, and I'm just picking up some of this combination of toned down green and putting it in here as well. Okay, let's start and see. A little bit too light for now. Let's bring in some sap green. Yellow ochre, ultramarine violet. Doesn't look pistachio to me.